A team builds a strong Claude Code workflow in the CLI. It is fast, visible, and easy to correct. Then someone says, this needs to be a platform. 2 months later, there is more code, less observability, and the original workflow is slower. That is the moment when leaving the CLI too early becomes a product problem. This is Lesson 13 in Claude Code, Production AI Agents. Today we decide when to leave the CLI, when to stay, and how to avoid turning working agent into unnecessary infrastructure. In Lesson 12, we put the production stack together. We saw that production is architecture, not a prompt. The same idea applies here. A new runtime is not automatically more production ready. It is only better if it gives you the control you need. The CLI is the learning ground. It gives fast feedback, human control, visible transcripts, simple debugging, and direct interaction with files and tools. For many workflows, that is exactly what you want while the method is still evolving. The visible artifact is the CLI decision map. There are good reasons to leave: embedding the agent in a product, supporting multiple users, owning custom authentication, managing custom state, enforcing strict runtime boundaries, or scaling beyond a human at terminal workflow. Use this checklist before treating the workflow as ready. Embed in app, serve many users, custom auth, custom state, operational scale. These are not decorative boxes. They are the operating questions that decide whether the agent can be trusted outside a demo. Use this checklist before treating the workflow as ready. Preference, vanity UI, premature platform, unclear ownership. These are not decorative boxes. They are the operating questions that decide whether the agent can be trusted outside a demo. In practice, this example has 4 parts: keep CLI path, wrap safely, capture logs, add guardrails. The point is to make the agent's work inspectable rather than asking everyone to trust a polished final answer. Use this checklist before treating the workflow as ready. Who is user, where state lives, who owns auth, how to observe. These are not decorative boxes. They are the operating questions that decide whether the agent can be trusted outside a demo. A healthy migration starts with a stable CLI workflow. The prompt pattern is known, the tools are known, the failure cases are known. Only then does the team move the workflow behind an SDK boundary. The host application takes responsibility for user identity, state, trace storage, retries, and presentation. That is a migration. Rewriting a half-understood CLI experiment into an application is just moving uncertainty into more code. Stay in the CLI when the workflow is still changing, when one trained operator is enough, when manual approval is the main control, or when you are still learning the failure modes. The CLI keeps the transcript close to the person making decisions. That closeness is a feature, not a weakness during discovery. Leave the CLI when the workflow has product users, shared state, custom authentication, strict policy requirements, or operational scale that the terminal cannot reasonably handle. The question is not whether the SDK is more advanced. The question is whether another runtime is now responsible for something the CLI cannot own cleanly. A useful mental model is workshop to factory. The workshop bench is where you learn the craft. The factory line is where you repeat it with controls, throughput, monitoring, and roles. Moving to a factory before you know the process creates expensive confusion. A good reason to leave the CLI is product integration. If users need the agent inside an application, the app owns state, permissions, identity, and workflow. In that case, the SDK may be the right boundary because the product runtime needs to coordinate the agent. A false positive is dashboard envy. A custom interface can look mature while adding no new control. If the CLI already gives evidence, approvals, and traceability, a dashboard may only add maintenance burden. A practical migration path is stabilize the CLI workflow first, extract the contract, decide what state the host application owns, wrap the agent boundary, add observability, then scale carefully. Do not start with the wrapper before the workflow is understood. The common mistake is treating the SDK as a status symbol. More code can mean less control if the team has not decided who owns auth, state, logs, retries, and failure handling. The SDK is a runtime choice, not a badge of seriousness. Let us recap Lesson 13. Stay in the CLI while learning. Leave the CLI for product boundaries, multi-user workflows, custom runtime control, or operational scale. Preserve evidence and governance when you migrate. The lesson learned is this: do not leave the CLI to look mature. Leave when the runtime requirements demand it. Subscribe for Claude Code, Production AI Agents. The companion book is linked in the description. In Lesson 14, we introduce the SDK in one sitting: query functions, options, messages, tools, and limits.